In the winter of 1850, a brutal storm tore across the coast of Scotland, ripping away the grass and soil from a low hill, and when the wind finally died down, it had uncovered something nobody knew was there. Hidden under that hill was a complete stone village, older than the pyramids of Egypt and older than Stonehenge. And the most surprising part is what was still sitting inside the houses, exactly where people had left it thousands of years ago. How a whole town stayed perfectly hidden for so long, why the people abandoned it, and what they left behind, makes this one of the most amazing discoveries in the history of Scotland. And the reason it survived is stranger than the storm that revealed it. So what exactly did that storm uncover? The village sits on a group of islands called Orkney, off the northern coast of Scotland. For thousands of years it lay buried under a grassy mound the locals had simply walked over without a second thought. When the Great Storm of 1850 stripped the mound bare, it exposed stone walls and the outlines of ancient rooms. The local landowner began digging into the site and pulling out the first clues, and the more he uncovered, the clearer it became that this was no ordinary ruin. Decades later, in the late 1920s, a famous archaeologist named Gordon Childe arrived and carefully studied the whole village, helping the world finally understand just how special it was. What they were all looking at was not a heap of crumbling huts. It was a tight cluster of stone homes, built close together and connected by low-covered passages, almost like a tiny stone neighborhood tucked into the earth, where people could move from house to house without ever stepping outside into the wind. That explains how it was found. But it leaves a much bigger question hanging. Just how old is this place? The answer is hard to wrap your head around. The village was built around 3,180 years before the Common Era, and people lived in it for roughly 600 years before it was abandoned. That makes it about 5,000 years old. To put that in perspective, the people of this village were already living there before the Great Pyramids of Giza were built, and long before the giant stones of Stonehenge were raised. After it was left empty, sand and earth slowly buried it, and it stayed hidden for around 4,000 years before that storm brought it back into the light. The people who lived there were not rough cave dwellers. They were skilled builders who created warm, clever homes out of stone, on windswept islands where good wood was almost impossible to find. And that leads straight into the most jaw-dropping part. What was actually still inside these houses? This is where Skara Brae stops feeling ancient and starts feeling oddly familiar. Inside the homes, archaeologists found stone furniture still standing in place. There were stone beds built into the walls, and stone shelves that look almost exactly like a modern dresser, set right across from the doorway, perfect for showing off a family's finest objects. Each home had a central fireplace for warmth and cooking, and small stone boxes set into the floor that may have been used to keep fish bait fresh. Even more impressive, the village had a simple drainage system running beneath the homes, carrying waste away, and some experts believe certain tiny rooms may have worked as early indoor toilets. The people left behind tools made of bone and stone, beads and jewelry, painted pottery, and mysterious carved stone balls whose true purpose is still debated today. All of this survived because the sand that buried the village sealed it like a time capsule, locking the rooms away from wind and rot. Walking through it now feels less like visiting a ruin and more like stepping into a home where the family just stepped out for a moment. But that comfort makes the final mystery even more haunting. If life here was so well built and so settled, why did everyone leave? This is the question that still has no clear answer. Some believe a massive storm, much like the one that later uncovered the village, finally drove the people away for good, burying their homes in drifting sand. Others think the change was slower, that families drifted off over many years as the weather turned colder or as life simply pulled them somewhere new. The truth is that the people of Skara Brae left no writing behind, so their reasons left with them. They had no books, no letters, no signs to explain themselves. What remains is a village that was advanced, cozy, and clearly cared for by the people who built it, sitting silent beneath the sand for 40 centuries while empires rose and fell far away. What makes the village even more remarkable is where it sits. The islands of Orkney were not some empty edge of the world back then. They were a busy center of life, dotted with giant standing stones, wide stone circles, and huge burial tombs built with astonishing skill. Skara Brae was part of a thriving community that clearly cared deeply about how they lived, how they gathered, and how they honored their dead. These were not isolated people barely scraping by. They were builders, farmers, and thinkers. Daily life there was busier than you might expect. The people kept cattle and sheep, grew grain, and gathered food from the sea, catching fish and collecting shellfish along the shore. The little stone boxes set into their floors may have held water and shellfish, kept ready as bait or as a quick meal. Bones, tools, and scraps left behind have led researchers slowly rebuild the menu of a family living 5,000 years ago. The carved stone balls found around the area remain one of the strangest puzzles of all. These are small round stones, shaped with careful patterns of bumps and ridges, clearly made with great effort and real skill. Nobody truly knows what they were for. Some think they were symbols of importance. Some think they were used in ceremonies. Some think they were simply prized possessions. After all this time, the stones still keep their secret. The village had its scares in modern times too. In 1925, another powerful storm battered the exposed ruins and threatened to wash parts of them straight into the ocean. To save the site, workers built a strong seawall to hold back the water, the same restless sea that had uncovered the village in the first place. Today, visitors can walk the edges of the homes and look down into rooms where families lived long before recorded history even began. Standing there, it is hard not to feel a strange closeness to people separated from today by 5,000 years. They arranged their furniture to face the door, just as people do now. They kept their treasures on display. They huddled around a warm fire on cold and stormy nights. The distance in time is enormous, and yet the way they lived feels surprisingly close to home. And that is the thought that lingers. 5,000 years ago, ordinary people on a cold and windy island figured out how to build snug homes, design furniture, manage their waste, and live close together as a real community. Then they vanished without a word, and the earth quietly swallowed everything they made. It took a violent storm, thousands of years later, to tear the ground open and remind the world that they were ever here at all. If this lost village was worth your time, smash that like button and subscribe to History Hive so the next discovery comes straight to you. Share it with someone who would love it, and let the comments know which forgotten place should be uncovered next.